Someone who hasn't been around for too long, but has really been making a lot of waves, especially in the last couple of years, Willie, is Christone Kingfish Ingram.
Yep.
Kingfish having another big year. He released his sophomore album 662, went to number one on the Billboard Blues chart, and actually this past week got back into the number one spot. So that kind of goes to show the staying power that Kingfish has. He also released a music video this week for Long Distance Woman. My question for you, Willie, with the success that Kingfish is having, he's already got 2 number one albums on the Billboard Blues chart, still in his early 20s. What's kind of the cap for his career? What's his ceiling, Willie? How many number one albums do you think he could potentially get?
I don't want to do this because we've spoken before about how he is sort of now, a lot of people are putting him as the torch bearer. He is the savior. It is a lot of pressure. And so I'm going to say this, and I know it adds to the pressure and it's not fair, but if you want my honest answer, there is no number, Pete. I got to see him at the Paramount at Austin, and the show that he played there, and the fact that he's still so young and he just keeps getting better. You look and you think, oh my gosh, the sky sort of is the limit with this guy. The guy, and we talk about this gentleman a lot too, Joe Bonamassa. Who knows who's going to have more number ones at the end of their career? I like the idea to think that he's probably going to be a guy, if he wants to, who can put out an album yearly and pretty much do what Joe Bonamassa does now. I don't see why not. He has the talent, he's surrounded himself with good people, and he loves what he does. You get those 3 ingredients, and there's really no stopping this guy. He really seems so genuine.
Very humble.
It's so great. He's so humble. His concert presence is great. Pete, I'd say it's 1 number one album a year for as long as he decides to keep himself in the game. So however long he plays, I think that's how many number ones. I hate Kingfish, Christone. I don't mean to add to your pressure, but you're just that good. Pete, do you agree? Am I just being a little bit too big too early on this guy?
Yeah, Willie, I would tend to agree with you on this. Now, we kind of heard the buzz about Kingfish before his debut album came out, but I wasn't super familiar with him before his debut album came out. Now, about 3 weeks before his debut album came out, I had a chance to see him at the Dallas International Guitar Festival, and I was right there in the front, right in front of him, and his performance, Willie, was pretty mind-blowing. And if you look at the talent that was in Dallas that weekend, you had Eric Gales, you had Philip Sace, you had Eric Johnson. I mean, you had some of the heaviest hitters, some of the best guitar players on the planet, all in Dallas that weekend. And catching all those performances, I thought Kingfish was as good as anybody that weekend. And this is when he was 20 years old, Willie. And he was already at this level where I was like, whoa, okay, this isn't just hype. You know, this kid is for real.
No, exactly. It is. He gets a lot of hype because he is that good. It's not hype when you back it up, and he is that good, and he's getting better. His recent album was better than his debut, and for a lot of people, they hit that sophomore slump. His album was better.
And what's crazy is how quickly he has risen. I mean, his ascension is happening very quickly. So just a couple of years ago, he would have been playing in the clubs. But now if you look, he just released a bunch of new tour dates. Now Kingfish is starting to move from the clubs into the theaters. And that is a huge step. That's a step that so many artists in this genre never even get to the point where they're playing in theaters. And now Kingfish, 22 years old, he's already moving into the theaters. I mean, that just kind of shows you how quickly he's really gained a fan base. And yeah, he's already got 2 number one albums. So at this point, and blues artists, especially when they are younger, do tend to release albums more often than some other genres.
Sure.
So I would expect Kingfish, they're probably going to keep rolling out albums, if not every year, probably every other year.
Sure.
And I would expect that to probably keep up at least through his 20s.
Yep.
So, and the other thing with Kingfish is he doesn't have to write every one of his songs.
No.
You know, he's got collaborators like Tom Hambridge, people like that he can team up with and help write his songs as well. So that kind of takes some of the pressure off of him. He doesn't have to do it by himself. He doesn't have to write all of the songs by himself. And, I think that's a good thing. So that's going to help him as well as far as continuously putting material out there. So, yeah, Willie, I think the sky's the limit. Now, will he ever catch Joe Bonamassa? Probably not in terms of #1 albums. I don't think anyone's going to catch up with Joe. Let's be honest. I mean, Joe is he's going at a rate where he puts out so many albums that I just don't think anyone's ever going to be able to catch him. But you look at the conversation of some of the other artists, Kingfish definitely has potential to, I would say, get past 10 #1 albums. So, I mean, how many artists have done that? So I would say Kingfish definitely, much as you were saying, Willie, I think he can definitely, every time he puts out an album, he can reach #1. So right now, the sky's the limit for Kingfish, and his star just continues to rise.
I'll make a prediction. The last thing I'll say is, you know what? 10 years from now, we'll get a Bob Gerson list of the top 10 guitarists of the 2020s. I'll make this prediction right now. The #1 guy on that list is going to be Kingfish.
Wow. That is
saying it now. We got 9 years left, but I'm telling you, it's going to be him. As I said, I sit there on one hand, I say it's not fair. We're putting the pressure on Kingfish as a genre, and I just heaped a bunch on
It's not fair, Willie, and then you make a statement like that. Putting more pressure on him.
I love the guy. He's so good.